Hi everyone, what's up? Josh here from Alternative Brewing, and today we're diving into something that doesn't get enough love. How to make a killer coffee that pairs perfectly with milk. So if you love milk in your coffee, or even if you're a black coffee purist, go ahead and like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You might learn something, because today we are bucking the trend. And let's be honest, most of the time when we talk about brewing coffee on YouTube, it is geared towards drinking it black, right? Now, I'm totally guilty of this. Pretty much all of my videos are basically around how I enjoy drinking coffee, which is a little narcissistic. But for all of you milk lovers out there, let's talk about how to brew a strong coffee that shines through all that creamy goodness, shall we? Let's do this. All right, so here's the deal. When brewing coffee at home, you're likely making either an espresso-based drink or a filter coffee. They're similar, but also worlds apart. Espresso uses high pressures and low ratios, and filter coffee, well, it takes a little bit more time and is a larger ratio. But here's where things get fun. I'm going to show you how to make both styles work for your milk-based drinks. Let's begin by taking a look at two filter coffees, using the same amount of grounds, but extracting them to different intensities. Why? Because the key to a good milk coffee is understanding the balance between strength and dilution. To cut through all the milk in the cup, your coffee needs to be strong. And strength refers to the concentration of the coffee, and dilution is simply how much milk you're adding to your cup. Now, on the one hand, I have coffee that was brewed to 300 mils using 200 grams of ground coffee. Same amount of ground coffee used here, but I only used 150 mils of water, so it is half as much coffee brewed for twice as strength of the concentration of the coffee. And let's just quickly do a demonstration now, and we'll test it. All right, so I used 20 grams each, but I brewed 300 mils and 150 mils, and this is a much more diluted coffee, and this is a much more concentrated coffee. And then we'll add 80 mils of this coffee in this cup versus 40 mils, and then the same amount of milk in each. We'll top them up. So 90 mils in that cup. Don't even know if I'll get 90 mils in this. I think I shall. And 90 mils in that cup. And even just by looking at them, the intensity of this cup on the left is much more than the one on the right, color-wise. Let's see how they go for taste. There's barely a coffee taste in that. It's a little bit more watery than I expect. It's kind of like a much watered down cup of coffee on this one. Now with a little bit of sugar, that would be enjoyable. It's smooth, it has a lot more coffee flavor to it. Although it is still a little watery, there is much more hint of coffee in this cup than there is in this cup. Now, if you do love a large milky coffee, no worries. You just need to brew a stronger base of coffee to begin with. Alternatively, you can, rather than diluting the brewed coffee down with liquid milk and losing any depth of flavor with the coffee, and this does now come at the peril of being called a heretic by both black coffee enthusiasts and milk drinkers alike, you could use liquid milk alternatives, such as milk powder, or a dash of condensed milk if you also like sugar in your coffee. These can have a surprising effect on both the texture and the flavor of the coffee, giving it a creamy richness without completely drowning out the coffee's character. I will say though, condensed milk comes with a warning. I read here, it is perfect for camping, picnics, and the occasional use. So be warned. Now, here's the thing. I wasn't just about to recommend these things without trying them myself, which I will do for you right now, because I'm curious to know exactly how much of each needs to go into the coffee to really, I guess, affect it or balance it up at least. Now, I've brewed a regular filter coffee now, like the 20 grams in, 300 mils out, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill each glass up respectively. 110 mils. I put 110 mils in each. I'm just really curious to know, we're going to start with the full cream milk powder. This stuff smells like baby's food or something. I don't know, it's it's an interesting smell. Sweet, but suspicious. All right, so the mixing instructions here suggest that you're adding 1 full level cup of it to like make milk out, and then you use that milk to like regular milk. But we're just gonna add the powder straight into the coffee because we're trying to avoid adding extra water into our brew. So that's the deal. That's what we're doing here. Oh, I'll start with half a teaspoon. It's like 2 grams worth. It just dissolves straight in there. Look at that. And that was 2 grams. I better get a baseline first. Baseline. Oh yeah. It's a richly brewed pour over coffee. All right, 2 grams of milk powder. How did this change it? Could be better. Let's try some more. Let's go like 1.5 teaspoons. Now I'm aware that I've already sipped it down, so it's becoming more and more concentrated as a brew, adding milk to it. But that's about 5 grams. That's like a heaped teaspoon into my pour over. That's good. Again, it does have a suspicious flavor, but you can play around with that. You can find the milk powder that works for you. That is like a milk coffee. That is a pour over that still has the flavors of the coffee coming through. That's interesting. That's really interesting. That's a really smooth cup of coffee that doesn't require you to dilute the pour over coffee. All right, condensed milk though. Kind of waited for this one to be last. I don't know how much. Now, it's not uncommon for many cultures to add condensed milk into their coffee. Whoa, that just started pouring out. That's how liquidy it is though. I'm gonna add like 2 grams to begin with. Can't even tell whether it's gone in or not. Give it a stir though. There we go, changes color. It's definitely not as milky as the milk powder one though. Yeah, need more. Oh. All right, that was about 3 more grams. So about the same, about 5 grams in total. It's keeping it rather dark though compared to the milk powder, like color-wise. I think I prefer the milk powder. Well, that's only because, first off, I'm not a milk drinker, but more importantly, I'm not a sugar drinker. So having sugar in my coffee is not my personal favorite thing. But again, we're not here to talk about me. That's enjoyable, and this is acquirable. I think I can learn to enjoy it. Maybe adding a little bit more of this, but use it at your own discretion, please. Now for an espresso, things are more simple. A small concentrated shot of coffee packs enough punch to hold up to a lot of milk. As a cafe standard for an espresso, talking about brew ratios, that is how much ground coffee you use to how much liquid coffee you get out. Cafes use anywhere from 18 to 20 grams of ground coffee for a 40 ml espresso shot out. And it's this 40 mils of espresso that will happily provide good strength for a 12 ounce or 340 ml cup of coffee. And that's like one of these big mugs that you have at home. Now, just touching back on brew ratios. It is very difficult to get this concentration of coffee from a pour over. And the brew ratio of an espresso is generally around a 1:2, whereas pour over is a 1:16. So you can see how the difference in the intensities change. And if talking about brew ratios is a little confusing right now, and you've got an espresso machine at home, I highly recommend you check out a whole bunch of videos that I have on perfecting the best espresso at home. With espresso, this crema, these lovely oils that are floating on top, these bind to the milk beautifully, giving it that smooth, rich flavor as you drink it. And the intensity of that espresso to begin with cuts through the milk beautifully. Now, with filter coffee, that's where the challenge comes in. As we've mentioned, it's not as concentrated as espresso, so you need to make sure that it doesn't get washed out by the milk when we add it into it later. And you'll need to brew the filter coffee stronger than usual. And there are a few tricks to achieve that. You can simply adjust the brew ratio, so you're using more coffee in the top and brewing with less water. You can grind a little bit finer and extend the brew time. You can agitate to extract more flavor from the coffee with less liquid being brewed. It's easy, right? Well, if you are working with filter methods but love milk, you might also want to skip pour-overs altogether, as they do get trickier to get a very concentrated brew, and opt for something like an AeroPress, a mocha pot, or even a cold brewer to get the extra strength in your coffee. These two are also pressure brewers that can give you that concentration that you need without breaking the bank on an espresso machine. But here's a pro tip. When you are aiming to make a milk coffee, choose beans that are roasted medium to dark or roasted for espresso, as these are designed to extract faster flavors into the brew and hold up better in stronger coffees. So in short, whether you're making espresso or filter coffee, the goal is to brew strong enough to handle all the milk when it's diluted. Brew it right and you're in for a delicious cup. That's it for today. I hope you found this helpful. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more coffee tips. And thank you so much for watching to the end of this video, and we'll see you in the next one.